What's up, Jets fans? Welcome to the latest edition to Jets Latest, where you get the latest on the Jets, Jets. I'm your host, the spitting statistician Dane Martinez, and today we get you ready for preseason Game 2, the Snoopy Bowl against the New York Football Giants. They've been practicing all week together, right? We have been seeing it, and they will have real game-like conditions tomorrow at MetLife Stadium. So let's get into it. I want to talk about a few things that I think you need to look for here in this preseason game, and we start once again with the offense, once again with Justin Fields, but really the thing that I think is the kind of partner with this is that offensive line, right? I've talked about the offensive line for a ton on Jets Latest, how it's been rated as a top 10 unit by most analysts out there, the potential for the run game, the potential for the offense, that it is a young, good developing group that we are going to have together for a long time with our bookend tackles Olufashano and of course this year's 7th overall pick Armand Membu. But check this out, let's put a couple of stats on this, right? Last week against the Green Bay Packers, the starting O-line group, they allowed pressure on Justin Fields 16.7% of the time. That pressure rate would be absolutely phenomenal to keep all season long. I don't think it's going to happen all season long because, quite frankly, that would be the best in the NFL by a wide margin. You got to also remember, this is without John Simpson, who was a top 10 guard as rated by PFF last year, okay? So there is even potential to do better. But as you can see here, last year, the best pressure rate allowed in the NFL was 24.4%. That was by the Arizona Cardinals. Only 3 teams allowed a pressure rate of less than a quarter of the time, right? And then don't forget those Detroit Lions, who there's plenty of comps, plenty of analogies to, was 4th best in the NFL at 26% at, doing good, not allowing pressure on that quarterback. And I think this can mean a ton for Justin Fields, right? Listen, we've talked about it here. He has improved his completion percentage. He has improved his passer rating every year as a pro to a place now, as you can see, where he is slightly above league average. Now, with any quarterback, those numbers go up dramatically if you have a clean pocket, right? And so now, as I said, with a better offensive line, this could be in the offing for Justin Fields. There's also those lanes, like you saw with the 13-yard touchdown scramble, the ability for him to run and make those decisions. You heard Aaron Glenn after the Packers game saying, hey, we could call the shot, but then he could check it down if need be, right? So that is all really good. And I'm saying that this is something to watch for because the Giants, many people don't expect much out of the Giants, but they do have a very good defensive line. Guys like Brian Burns, guys like Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence, and their first-round pick, Abdul Carter, should provide an interesting test for this Jets offensive line. So just like against the Packers, where we moved the line of scrimmage, I want to see if we can do the same thing on Saturday against the G-Men. The other thing I want to tell you about, some injuries and who could step up. Alan Lazard is going to miss 2 weeks with a shoulder injury. I think this is really important for 2 guys. One, Tyler Johnson, who was running as the wide receiver 3, made a couple of catches against Green Bay, and Arian Smith, who we have talked about a lot here on Jets Latest. You can't teach his speed. Remember about the quote-unquote drop issue, but let me tell you something. He has been working on the jugs machine. We talked about the strobe glasses that he is wearing, and he has been making tough catches in training camp left and right. So I think Smith and Tyler Johnson have that ability to kind of step up with more snaps behind, obviously, Garrett Wilson, behind Josh Reynolds, to be another kind of starting caliber wide receiver. And listen, Brandon Smith is a guy who's also been flashing, right? Aaron Glenn said this about him. Brandon Smith has been making plays since OTAs. That's one guy I probably haven't talked enough about. I like where he's at, and he's steadily improving on a daily basis. So that wide receiver room, I think, is in flux, and we'll get to see who steps up there. Another place that we're going to see is at the quarterback position, because Tyrod Taylor had a knee procedure. He's going to miss the rest of the preseason. You know they're only going to play Justin Fields for a little bit, maybe the first quarter, maybe a couple of drives max. So that means, once again, Adrian Martinez and Brady Cook are going to have an opportunity to impress. And listen, one of them is going to be QB3. I think the issue is, can the other one do good enough, impress enough that they don't get waived or cut and they make the practice squad, that we kind of retain them on the roster? I'm going to be looking to see Adrian Martinez and Brady Cook. Both of them do have that athleticism. Both of them hopefully can run the same style of offense as Justin Fields. And then the other thing is on the D-line, which was another position that going into this offseason, a lot of people said to needed to be addressed next to Quentin Williams. Well, Quentin Williams is out with the calf injury, right? Jay Tufele looked great last week against Green Bay, right? The sacks, the pressures, the fumble recovery, all that. But remember, there's other guys there as well. Leonard Taylor, who looked good. Byron Cowart, who we signed as a free agent from Chicago. Derek Nottie, who we signed as a free agent from Kansas City. I want to see if anybody can do what Jay Tufele did last week, right? And kind of announce themselves as being a real part of that defensive line rotation. So this D-line position where, we saw Tufele, maybe a Coward, maybe a Taylor, maybe a Noddy, right? How we put that together next to Quentin Williams is similar to the wide receiver position, in my opinion, with, Arian Smith and Tyler Johnson, Josh Reynolds, how we put that together next to Garrett Wilson. So those are things that I am going to be looking at. Those are some of the injuries, but the big one that we got to look at is Sauce Gardner is dealing with calf soreness, okay? It doesn't seem to be a major thing, so we'll see what his availability is for Saturday against the Giants. But it did bring me to another position that people said we needed to address, and that was who was going to be the cornerback opposite Sauce Gardner. And the two guys that we got to shine a light on are one, Brandon Stevens, and two, A.Z. Thomas, our third-round draft pick. Okay, why? Because first of all, when you have Sauce locking down one side of the field, teams are not going to attack Sauce. Teams are going to start looking the other way. So whoever that cornerback is that's going to be opposite Sauce is going to need to be on their P's and Q's all the time, right? And so listen to what Aaron Glenn said about Brandon Stevens. I think this is a positive. There have been a number of positive reports about Stevens coming out of camp. He goes, Stevens is everything that we imagined. He's big, he's physical, he has really good coverage skills. I'm looking forward to see how he progresses through training camp and during the season. The one thing that we've got to continue to work on is him being able to get his hands on the ball. He's a damn good player, and I'm glad that we have him. And I've said this on Jets Latest, but for some of the new subscribers, some of the new viewers, and thank you to everybody who is. We've crossed 2,000 subscribers. We're getting more views, and by the way, you can see that link in the description. You can click now and join and become a Jets Latest insider with some exclusive benefits. More on that in a little bit. But Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn have targeted these tall, lanky guys. Why? Because they want to play more press man coverage. We have talked about this. And so for anybody who's new to the channel, let me explain it to you, okay? Aaron Glenn, when he was with Detroit, they played man coverage over 60% of the time. That was the most in the entire NFL. And the Lions' pass defense was good last year. You see some of the stats. Second lowest completion percentage against. Lowest red zone completion percentage against. Red zone interceptions, end zone interceptions, picks in general, PBUs, all things that the Detroit Lions were kind of really good at in the secondary. And Aaron Glenn, a former Pro Bowl cornerback himself, bringing that over to the Jets, and he has an archetype. Sauce Gardner, 6'3", lanky. Brandon Stevens, 6'3", lanky. A.Z. Thomas, 6'3", lanky, right? That's what they want to do, and they are doing that pretty well. So if Sauce is kind of nursing the calf, we're going to see some of Brandon Stevens and some of A.Z. Thomas as well. So that's another thing I will be looking for in this Snoopy Bowl against the Giants. We'll see. The Jets looked really good in preseason game one. We'll see how it looks against the Giants tomorrow. So that'll do it for this episode of Jets Latest. But like I always say, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and tell a Jets fan friend to tell a Jets fan friend. It is going to be a great season. So let's check in and see what some of you guys have to say in the comments. Eric Thurman, 1050, says, I said the same thing about our defense. Justin said the same thing after the game. I want our defense to make our offense look bad in practice so that then they look good in the games. I've been talking about this iron sharpens iron concept, right? And I do think that's what we're seeing when they go heads up against each other. Ed, 1956K, says, the Lazard injury has me concerned. I get that, but remember, you got Garrett Wilson. I think Josh Reynolds is going to be a reliable veteran wide receiver. That's two. I think Tyler Johnson and Arian Smith are going to be good, solid. That's four. When you combine Mason Taylor making plays from the tight end position, Breece Hall making plays from out of the backfield, I think we have all that we need in the pass game. And remember, they're just trying to be efficient, right? It is going to be a run-heavy team with this offensive line moving people, the three-headed monster at running back, and of course, Justin Fields' dual threat ability. It is going to be a run team, but we have plenty of options, I think, in the passing game. And then Mlando73 says, dude, I love your intake and positivity. Kudos to you for going against the norm. You have a subscriber for life now. Thank you. I don't know how much against the norm I'm going with, right? But I'm giving you actual stats, actual quotes, actual football knowledge, trying to mix optimism because I do think we're on the precipice of a turnaround with realism. I'm not telling you they're going to go 13-4, right? But there are reasons to believe if we can be patient as a Jets fan base. And hopefully you get in now when you can on Jets Latest and we all ride the wave of the Glennaissance. Shout out to Sharon McLean together. Remember, if you want to be an insider, click on that button. If you want to hear more from me, the spitting statistician Dane Martinez, I tell you all the time, I am the host of the FTN Fantasy Show over on SiriusXM, channel 87, the fantasy channel. It's fantasy football season, right? So I'm helping you win your leagues and win that draft, win that cash. Also, you could hit me up on Twitter at Spittin' Speeds in the comments. FTN Fantasy is a great site with all sorts of tools, data, rankings to help you be a better fantasy player, help you be a better sports bettor. But if you want to be locked in here to the green and white, Jets Latest is the place to be. Thank you to everybody. Let's see how we look on Saturday against the Giants, and I'll be back next week continuing to give you everything about the green and white from training camp and into the 2025 season. All right, have a great weekend, everybody. Let's see what the Jets look like on Saturday. We'll be back to talk about it next week, but for now, we out of here. Peace.